The story begins in a cozy apartment where Tim, a well-meaning dad, breaks some news to his wife. His company approved the smart fridge he designed. But Tim isn't celebrating. The fridge secretly spies on people. It even suggests wine based on his habits. Tim refused to keep the hidden camera, so he quit. Polly, Tim's supportive but worried wife, absorbs the blow. The company wants their flat and car back. They're homeless. Tim's daughter Beth, a sassy teen influencer, barely looks up. He collects everyone's devices into homemade screen satchels. The kids unanimously reject real-life games and dancing. Joe, Tim's youngest son, plays cyborg at dinner. Tim worries their childhood is slipping away entirely. Polly floats the idea of running away together. Tim pulls out an old dream binder. He pitches their 15-year-old dream of country living. The family boards a train to the countryside. Beth declares her dad completely insane. Tim hands out books instead of Wi-Fi. Their phone signals drop 1 bar at a time. With no taxis available, the whole family walks. Joe complains his legs feel funny from actual exercise. Tim offers him an apricot for energy, which Joe finds disgusting. Fran, Tim's quiet youngest daughter, wanders off briefly. Beth questions how they'll pay for this place. Tim reveals his grand plan: grow tomatoes and sell pasta sauce. They arrive at their new home, which is literally a barn. Tim insists it has huge potential despite everyone's horror. Beth screams when she discovers there's no electricity for her phone. Tim cheerfully presents a dusty old landline as a replacement. Joe wonders aloud if they've traveled back in time. The drama intensifies as Tim promises to get electricity sorted. Polly surveys the cramped barn interior with forced enthusiasm. She and Tim cheerfully pretend the kitchen is charming. Suddenly, a loud bang on the door sends everyone screaming. Brian, the local farmer, arrives mumbling in a thick accent. Nobody can understand a single word he says. Beth desperately asks Brian about Wi-Fi. He seems thrilled. But Brian's idea of Wi-Fi turns out to be his wife. Bella, Brian's cheerful spouse, introduces herself at the door. Before leaving, Brian warns them to avoid the woods nearby. He claims the forest is enchanted, full of strange creatures. The family laughs nervously as Brian and Bella leave. Beth sarcastically tallies weird locals and spooky woods. That night, Tim tries starting a fire, but the wood's damp. He suggests a family sing-along, which everyone immediately rejects. Beth announces she hopes she never wakes up. Tim tucks little Fran into bed with a gentle growl. Fran whispers something unexpected. She saw a fairy today. Tim excitedly tells Polly their quiet daughter finally spoke. Meanwhile, outside, a fairy named Silky argues with a tiny pixie. Silky insists they thank Fran since the girl returned her purse. The pixie squeezes through Fran's window, complaining the whole time. Silky pushes the nervous pixie off the ledge on 3. He tumbles inside, landing with a painful thud. The pixie struggles to leave Fran a gift of pop cakes and gets stuck. The drama intensifies as the pixie finally shoves the gift through Fran's window, but tumbles out after it, crashing onto the ground below. Silky gasps while the pixie grumbles about the whole ordeal. Fran bursts out giggling, which only makes the pixie angrier. The next morning, Roger the rooster blasts everyone awake. Beth, Tim's sassy teenage daughter, hurls a pillow at him. Snooze mode. Tim scolds her, then checks on poor Roger. Fran finds Silky's note inviting her to tea at the faraway tree. The fairy adds one rule: don't tell Moonface. Downstairs, Polly tries making fried eggs but finds a chicken nesting on the stove. Meanwhile, outside, a manure truck dumps an absurd mountain of dung. Fran slips away, following Silky's directions into the enchanted wood. She crosses the stream and ignores every warning sign. In a clearing, the massive faraway tree towers before her. Fran closes her eyes and chants the magic words 3 times. The tree shimmers to life, its bark glowing warmly. She begins climbing the enormous trunk. High up, she startles a meditating creature who shrieks at her. The pixie screams for her to leave immediately. Fran climbs into a hollow inside the tree. She discovers a cozy round doorway glowing ahead. Inside, she finds a cluttered little home and calls out for Moonface. A fussy voice rambles about someone eating Bang Bang mustard, then spots Fran and shrieks, calling her a thief. The situation spirals as Saucepan Man, Moonface's clanking companion, mishears every word and throws kelp at Moonface instead. Fran tries explaining herself, but the racket drowns her out. Silky steps in and introduces herself warmly. She cheerfully mangles Fran's name into Fran for short. Moonface protests that humans are forbidden in the enchanted wood, but Silky insists Fran brought a gift, which means she's allowed in. Fran hands over her toy, and Moonface brags he'll master it instantly. He fails spectacularly, grumbling in defeat. Silky introduces Saucepan Man, who is hard of hearing because of all his pots. When Fran asks why he keeps them on, he calls her a dum-dum. Silky leads the group upward to meet Dame Washalot, a cheerful washerwoman. Mr. Watts's name, a forgetful old fellow, can't remember his own name. A bell chimes. A new land arrives atop the tree. Dame Washalot announces it's the land of goodies today. She warns Fran to leave before the land turns, or she'll be stuck forever. Silky kicks off launch mode with a funky dance. Everyone dances and climbs through the tree together. They burst through the clouds into a candy-filled wonderland. A stern policeman greets them with one rule: don't be greedy. Flying saucers, the candy kind, zip through the air. Silky hands Fran a pop cake, which literally pops in her mouth. A strange helper wanders past shouting warnings about tooth decay. Moonface gulps down a sugary fruit punch that kicks him right in the face. The chaos escalates as the land of goodies rumbles beneath everyone's feet. Silky warns the land is about to turn, so they race for the hatch. Fran refuses to leave without grabbing a marshmallow. Classic move. She gets stuck trying to squeeze through with her overloaded basket. A grumpy policeman scolds her for being greedy. Meanwhile, Tim and Polly frantically search the woods, calling Fran's name. Silky and Moonface, Silky's loyal friend, rush back to free her. Saucepan Man clanks the policeman right off his feet. Fran cheers the hit as the whole group scrambles down. They barely escape before the land spins away above them. Moonface introduces the slippery slip. Their exit slide down the tree. Fran launches down screaming before anyone finishes the countdown. She tumbles out at the bottom, breathless and grinning. Back at the cottage, Tim scolds Beth for not watching her sister. Beth fires back, blaming Tim's fairy tale stories for Fran's adventure. Joe, Tim's youngest son, just wants to know about electricity. Polly snaps that they're all acting like spoiled brats. That's when Fran strolls in safe and sound. Tim scoops her up, relieved beyond words. Fran breathlessly describes the faraway tree and the land of goodies. Beth rolls her eyes, declaring her sister completely mad. Polly insists Fran can return, but only with Beth and Joe. Fran agrees, and Tim melts hearing her voice so full of wonder. Outside, a chicken clucks peacefully in the quiet evening. The chaos escalates as Tim greets his kids with cheerful Italian, clearly embracing country life with full enthusiasm. He proudly shows off running water like a miracle. Tim sketches plans for an irrigation system, and the whole family pitches in building together. Beth, Tim's sassy teenage daughter, writes Grandma a letter. She reports the family's gone completely rural. Even Polly's brainwashed. Joe mimes shooting things, suffering serious screen withdrawal. Beth begs Grandma to rescue them from this insanity. Grandma's butler mentions a letter smelling of horse manure. Back at the farm, Tim blasts Gregorian chants for his tomatoes. Beth finally agrees to visit the enchanted wood with Fran. Warning signs litter the path, but Fran insists they're harmless. Fran tells everyone to close their eyes and declare belief. Beth reluctantly chants, and the faraway tree magically reveals itself. Branches twist open, and Fran leads them inside. They climb aboard magical creatures that carry them upward. Fran introduces Joe to Saucepan Man, her clanking friend. Moonface grumbles about more humans and broken promises. Silky swoops in, proudly introducing herself by her golden hair. Beth teases Silky about defining herself by her looks. Dame Washalot's washwater crashes down without warning. An announcement rings out. The land of birthdays has arrived. Fran tells Joe it's a ladder to other worlds. The chaos escalates as Fran excitedly tells Joe about the ladder to other worlds. Beth panics at the thought of them climbing through clouds. Moonface promises they'll look after everyone, so Beth reluctantly gives them 5 minutes. Dame Washalot snatches Beth's top to wash it. Moonface leads the group upward into the land of birthdays. A birthday elf in a French accent welcomes them warmly. Fran mistakes the elves for pixies, deeply offending them. The elves invite everyone to a magical feast. Saucepan Man wishes away his pots, which means he's suddenly stark naked. Joe wishes to become his favorite video game character. He transforms instantly and loves it. Silky wishes to become the ultimate fairy. She shrinks, sprouts tiny wings, and actually flies. Fran wishes for a different voice and gets a deep, gruff one. The elf announces wishes can never be reversed. Meanwhile, Dame Washalot explains the rotating lands to Beth. She warns about the terrifying land of Dame Snap. Beth climbs up and arrives at the birthday celebration. She immediately wishes her dad's tomato dream fails. Fran, Tim's youngest daughter, begs for her voice back. Beth holds the elves' laundry hostage until wishes are fixed. The elves reveal a mysterious man in the basement might help. The group knocks on Mr. Boom Boom's door, a booming, grumpy fellow. Silky charms him with her tiny fairy form. The chaos escalates as Mr. Boom Boom agrees to reverse their wishes. But he demands a price. He wants Silky. He claims Santa Claus needs a fairy for his tree. Beth and the others flatly refuse the deal. But Silky volunteers herself to save her friends. Beth insists they can't let her do this. Silky reassures them, saying Santa sounds fun. She does it for her old and new friends. Beth, Tim's eldest daughter, admits she was wrong about Silky. The two share a warm, almost sisterly moment. Mr. Boom Boom hurries Silky to the packing station. The kids enter the backward speaking room for snacks. They speak their wishes in reverse, undoing the spells. But Boom Boom double-crosses everyone. Silky's package heads to Dame Snap. Fran's voice returns to normal. Beth races to rescue Silky from the box. Boom Boom pulls a toffee gun on them. Saucepan Man clangs a pot over the villain's head. The land starts rumbling and shifting away. Silky decides she prefers being her true self. Everyone scrambles down the faraway tree's hatch. Beth tells Silky never to let anyone boss her around. Silky tucks a flower into Beth's hair. They all slide down the tree, screaming with joy. The chaos escalates as the family tumbles down the tree's slide, screaming with delight. A helicopter appears in the distance. Fran spots it. It's Grandma's helicopter. Frida, Polly's sharp-tongued mother, arrives in dramatic fashion. She scolds Polly for quitting her job over principles. Frida inspects the children with brutal cheerfulness. Fran tells Frida about visiting the Enchanted Wood. Frida, Tim's mother-in-law, demands to know their financial plan. Tim proudly describes Polly's homemade inventions. Frida calls them glorified sprinklers and greenhouses. She declares herself extremely disappointed in Polly. Frida offers to take Beth back to city schools. She vows to attend the grand launch, expecting disaster. Beth watches Frida leave, guilt heavy on her face. Tim announces they finally have electricity and Wi-Fi. Beth video calls her city friends, relieved. Her friends notice plants tangled in her hair. Meanwhile, Tim struggles to keep the power running. He finally gets it working and cheers. Polly gathers the kids around a dream binder. She shares that Tim's dad grew tomatoes nearby. Tim's granddad died young, ending the family farm. Polly shows drawings from her and Tim's student days. She quietly admits she just wanted Frida's approval. But some dreams simply don't come true. The stakes get higher as Polly reveals a drawing she and Tim made years ago. Their dream of countryside life with a happy family. Joe notices he's drawn as a girl, and Polly cheerfully shrugs it off. She tells the kids this move was about reconnecting, because the family was drifting apart. Maybe it's actually working. The family cuddles together for the first time in ages. Days pass as the family settles into farm life together. Tim playfully feeds Polly something gross from the garden. But then Fran announces a message from Silky. The land of dreams sits atop the tree today. Joe promises they'll visit tonight after finishing chores. At dinner, Tim brags about his pasta sauce in a ridiculous Italian accent. Polly, Tim's wife, reminds him they've never even visited Italy. Meanwhile, back at the tree, Moonface worries the kids aren't returning. Silky insists they always forget once they grow up. The next morning, Beth shares exciting news. A rep from DeCanio's tomato company is visiting their launch. Tim marches everyone to harvest tomatoes for the big day. He dramatically unveils the crop, but every single tomato is rotted through with maggots. Tim slumps, announcing the adventure is over and they should pack up. Beth begs for just 2 hours, promising she can fix everything. Tim reluctantly agrees. Beth confesses to Joe and Fran that she wished the tomatoes would fail back in the land of birthdays. Now she has to undo the damage, so the three siblings race toward the faraway tree. The fallout begins as the three siblings charge through the lush green forest. A girl in yellow dashes beneath mossy branches. Moonface refuses to help, grumbling they were abandoned. Beth insists they were just helping their parents. Silky steps up and declares herself in charge, earning a nod from Beth. The group needs a spell to fix the tomatoes, but the land of spells is months away. Silky suggests visiting today's land, the Know-Alls. The Know-Alls dramatically recite everything the kids already told them. Beth calls them out on it. The Know-Alls keep restating obvious facts, frustrating everyone. They finally reveal a land-hopping machine next door. Joe hops in, thrilled it's like his video game. The machine blasts off through swirling clouds. In a new land, Silky finds a plant spell, but the seller wants something priceless. Fran gets an idea. She decides to handle it alone. Fran stands before a bustling underground market. She faces a crowd of costumed strangers. Lantern-lit cave marketplace surrounds the children. Fran performs something so moving the seller is speechless. The ground starts shaking, so they scramble for an exit. The flying machine runs out of energy mid-flight because it's fallen asleep. Joe spots a land below and crash lands. Silky calls the new land lovely, but Fran finds it creepy. Moonface suddenly remembers Dame Washalot's warning about a prison land. Dame Snap's school. A sinister woman welcomes them as her newest pupils. The chaos escalates as Dame Snap gloats about trapping them. She munches a fly right in front of everyone. Moonface mourns the poor insect, completely horrified. Dame Snap demands her new pupils play music for her. Beth protests, insisting they don't have time for this. Dame Snap catches someone laughing and threatens a slap. She brags she used to be called Dame Slap. Beth, Tim's sassy teenage daughter, challenges her boldly. Dame Snap quizzes Mr. Watsy's name, who can't remember his name. She sentences him to 3 days detention. Beth volunteers for detention too. It's her escape plan. One by one, the whole group gets themselves thrown out. Saucepan Man tops it off with spectacular flatulence. Dame Snap banishes every last one of them. Inside detention, Moonface vents his frustration with humans. He says children promise forever, then grow up and forget. Fran mentions their dad Tim never forgot the magic. Moonface gasps, he knew Tim as a boy. Touched, he hatches a new plan using a rotten potato. Joe pours the growing spell on it, supercharging the spud. Saucepan Man shields everyone as the potato explodes the wall. The group sprints toward the landhopper to escape. Dame Snap chases furiously, but they fire up the machine. Saucepan Man waves goodbye as they zoom away from her. Finally, back at the farm, Tim arrives to find his grand launch falling apart. He desperately apologizes, announcing everything has failed. But then the crowd spots something extraordinary. His plants are blooming beautifully. Tim stares in disbelief, stunned by the lush results. He hugs Beth, grateful beyond words. Beth insists they barely did anything. Later, the community gathers for a joyful celebration. Mr. Watsy's name announces he's finally remembered his name, but it slips away again instantly. Beth notices Moonface is missing. Her school friends arrive and Beth collects their phones. She eagerly offers to show them the enchanted wood. Polly, Tim's wife, warmly welcomes him home. Tim finds Moonface and breaks down with grateful tears. A joyful outdoor party erupts with dancing and laughter. Brian and Bella, still scheming, vow revenge on the family. But they drop their accents, giggling mischievously together. The whole community dances wildly under colorful lanterns. Tim lifts Joe high in the air as everyone cheers. The faraway tree stands tall beyond the old fence. The party swings on as the family finally belongs. Mr. Watts' name wonders aloud where he even is.